Ghosts of War, Cold Lightning. I'm not ready for it. I'm a GI following orders. Somehow I think I'll be pulled back. Our mission scratched. Sorry about the confusion, folks. Return home to your families, but really, no such luck. It goes on as planned. Our convoy leaves for Iraq on December 22nd, 2004, and ready or not, here it comes. Driving in the middle of 30-vehicle convoy, I feel my nerves relax. This is how training is supposed to work. You do it so much, it feels natural. True, this is my third time driving a 20-ton dump truck, but my MOS is operating equipment. I'm used to the rough, wild handling of military junk, and my experience relaxes me. Of course, we're not yet in Iraq. After a full 6 hours of convoying, we stop at another camp in Kuwait, Camp Cedar 2. There isn't enough room or a necessity for us to be set up with tents like at Camp Virginia, so we stage the vehicles in a large formation and use them for barracks. Attached to my rucksack is the Army issue sleeping bag that smells like old vinyl and cooked pine. When we stop, the vehicles are staggered in two long lines. I'm somewhere in the middle, and I dismount the tall dump truck to begin my after operations PMCS. As I come around the right side of the 2010, I see Sergeant Tim Folden doing an after PMCS on his M916. He's rubbing his backside with his empty hand. How's your ass? I ask. I let you know once I can feel it again, he says. We both laugh. We continue our PMCS and then head off to dinner. In the chow hall, I find one of the long tables with EQ members sitting at it. At this table, the meal is quiet. Soldiers stationed at this camp surround us, and we look at them with a bit of jealousy and a bit of pride. We're crossing the border tomorrow. Most of these soldiers won't go into Iraq for their whole deployment. They eat their meals, laughing and joking. We look at them the way a pack of wolves must look at domesticated dogs, like we'll be fighting to survive tomorrow while these guys will be sitting in the same seats. Like we'll be lucky to eat tomorrow while these guys just wait for a dinner call for a pile of food in their bowls. That night, the temperature drops 30 or 40 degrees. The chill is so fast it seems to drop down my spine. The sudden chill, it's like the Grim Reaper tracing your spine with his fingernail. I lie in the back of the dump truck trying to fall asleep, and the cold desert night even reaches me in my sleeping bag. These sleeping bags work for like 40 below. I tell myself it's the metal of the dump truck bed. Metal's a conductor, and it sucks the cold right out of the air. I tell myself it's keeping me from falling asleep. I climb out of the back of the 20-ton and gaze up at the mere sliver of crescent moon. I think of the old adage of God's thumbnail. In this part of the world, during this time of the year, God's thumbnail points straight down, and since the Middle East is the supposed birthplace of civilization and Jesus and Muhammad, well, I guess that makes sense. I take my bundled-up sleeping bag to Fulton's tractor-trailer. The 916 trailer have 2x8 running down the center. These pieces of wood, unlike the metal dump bed, are insulators. They're resistant to temperature changes. There are already more than a dozen soldiers claiming Fulton's trailer as their bed, man-sized cocoons huddling to the center of the flatbed. I find an empty spoke and bunk down. As I fall asleep, I watch the stars. The sky here is so clear that I see 5 shooting stars before I doze off. That's 5 wishes, and they all evolve tomorrow. As we awake, we brush the frost off our sleeping bags. We pack our stuff, brush our teeth, and pee behind the vehicle's wheels. We PMCS. I open an MRE and take out an instant coffee. MREs are the vacuum-packed meals that armies give soldiers in the field. At room temperature, MREs have a shelf life of over 10 years, and each little pouch of food can withstand a static load of 200 pounds for 3 minutes. This means that a 200-pound man could stand on top of a bag of applesauce without it bursting. The downside of this strength and stamina is everything in them tastes like salty cardboard. I pour the powdered coffee into a baggie and add cold water from my canteen. I use as little water as possible. That way I'm not forced to sip the coffee. Instead, I take it like a shot of caffeine. One of the maintenance guys pulls out a stick of chalk. It's good chalk that doesn't wash off easy. The maintenance platoon uses it to write on equipment, to mark it for whatever kind of maintenance reason. We use it for decoration. One guy draws a target on his 20-ton with the exclamation, "You won't do it." Someone else writes Iraq or bust on his Humvee. The 20-ton ahead of me says "See ya in hell" on his rear bumper. The Lord's Prayer is written on an armored 916 door. Someone else writes Acme on a gun turret. Another draws flames. The rubble of 30 or so diesel engines starting wakes up the sun. It comes up as we roll out the gate of the camp. It's December 23rd. I joined the Army exactly 2 years ago. We're in Iraq. Iraq is on TV, the evening news. Being in Iraq is like being on a new planet, something other people do, like curing world hunger. It's something that's not supposed to happen in real life, not to me. It's getting AIDS. It's being broken down. It's the first day of red phase. A small number of company already flew into Iraq to coordinate things for our arrival. I get to drive into Iraq. I'm jealous of the advanced party. They got the easy way out, a stress-free C-130 aircraft. I get a 2010 dump truck, but all of us who have to convoy, maybe we're the lucky ones. We claim injustice. We ask why we can't all fly, but really we don't care. We didn't come to Iraq to fly over Iraq. We came here to fucking own the place. In Kuwait, we don't travel with locked and loaded magazines. When we near the border, Munoz picks up his M16, loads a magazine, and slams the bolt forward. He does the same for mine. That sound of a weapon being loaded, metal crunching together, it sounds lethal. That click-clack, it sounds like power. We cross the border and we're ready for buildings exploding, for car bombs and mushroom clouds. We're ready for bloodstains and dead bodies. I can feel my heartbeat in my throat, and I'm ready to fight my way through towns and villages. Kuwait isn't where they ride in the streets and burn the American flag. Kuwait is not where they plant roadside bombs and shoot at us. That's Iraq. We cross the border and we're ready to kill. We're ready to die. We cross the border and there are children, little girls and little boys. Their faces are dirty with desert, sand, and sweat. But it's not what they look like that shocks me. It's what they do. They see our convoy. We Americans, we're occupying their country. CNN says it wrong, and on some level, I know it's wrong. MSNBC says the people of Iraq hate us, and on some level, I know they hate us. And I know that Josh Miller, an average redhead farm boy, will be forced to shoot these children when they start throwing rocks at us. That's the SOP, Standard Operating Procedure. It was covered in the convoy briefing. The hoo-ahs that we yelled were forced and pathetic. Hoo-yah is the Army phrase that lets everyone know you're all in. Think, tonight, men, we take that hill. And then a crowd of scruffy guys yells hoo-ah from their guts. By definition, hoo-ah means anything but no. But in the briefing before we left with LT Lieutenant reminded us of our SOP, gave us orders to shoot children if they threw rocks. The hoo-ahs sounded like desperate, like boys acting tough. Rocks are life-threatening when you're traveling 60 miles an hour. Suck it up, you're a soldier and this is war. I'm an American and I know these children and their parents don't want me here. I know they hate me and burn my flag and drag soldiers' bodies through the streets. Fuck them. I didn't choose to come here. I'm here on orders. They want to throw rocks, I'll give them a brain full of 56 rounds. Put my M16 on burst. 3 rounds in rapid succession. The military took the automatic auction off of M16s after so much ammo was wasted in Vietnam, but they'll never take away that 3-round burst. Aim low. Maybe I'll get them in the stomach and they'll suffer some before they bleed out. Right there on the side of the road, right there in front of their stupid sheep. Suck it up. This is war we're talking about, GI. This is your life we're talking about, GI Joe Schmo. I have 4 men standing in the back of my dump truck. One has a mounted M60 machine gun. Another has a SAW, squad automatic weapon machine gun. The others 2 have M16s and hand grenades. Let's see some blood, gunners. Throw rocks at you? You're going to let Haji Rocks take you out of the game on your first convoy? You're going to let Haji Rocks keep you from family? That won't happen on my truck. Let's bathe the streets in blood, comrades. Dozens of children line the road. They raise their hands. Their hands are empty. The kids look at Munoz and me with dark, round eyes and pull their hands to their mouths. Their sheep stand in huddled masses behind them, and the children motion their empty hands to their mouths over and over again. They are begging for food. Cold lightning drops down my spine. Tears leak into the corners of my eyes. This is Neil Munoz's first time in Iraq, and he waves to the kids. Jesus, he says, see that? You don't know what sadness looks like until you've seen children begging for food. Munoz rummages behind his seats, finds an open box of MREs. He tosses a few out of his window, and the kids rush to pick them up. In the side mirrors, I can see the children devouring the salty cardboard meals. This is the moment of my epiphany, when it all say, someday you'll understand. This is what they're talking about. When your parents yelled at you for not finishing dinner, there are children starving in Africa. This is why the drill sergeants told me I was stupid to be a hero. This is why we invaded Iraq. On the side of the road, their faces are worn, their bodies are scrawny, their clothes are rags. To get around, they use their feet, dirty farmland feet that have grown up walking on walks, thick-skinned feet that have never worn designer shoes. The children look as if they should be in elementary school, but their eyes show wisdom I never would have understood in elementary school. These kids have wisdom I'm only beginning to grasp now. They are dirty and sweaty from working in the fields all day. They don't work to make money. They don't get allowance. They don't have part-time jobs after school bussing tables so they can buy their first cars or new clothes or TV, DVD player combos for their bedrooms. They work to live. They farm crops and livestock so their family can eat. How many kids in America can say their day-to-day efforts are a result of the struggle to survive? Conscious of the fact that the military sees them as more of a threat than their children, the parents stand farther away from the road. They wave or hold their thumbs up, but they don't beg. In Middle Eastern culture, giving is more valued than receiving. On their faces, I see them watching our convoy, intently curious as to whether or not we will throw food, because they are hungry too. They are not burning flags in large chaotic riots like I expected, like the evening news said. Their thumbs are up. After 6 hours of driving, we arrive at Camp Shania in southern Iraq for fuel up. Moore is the first one to break the silence as we stand beside our long line of staged vehicles, some of us smoking cigarettes, some of us pissing behind wheel wells. You see those kids? Scott Moore says. Yeah, we say. Didn't expect that, I say. Me neither. There's no point in being tough about this war, this vile stomach of a country. Being tough, being bloodthirsty, no longer seems important. Moore adds, it breaks your heart. After fueling, we drive past Baghdad and over the Tigris River. We pass Balad and arrive at Camp Anaconda. According to the rumors, it's not such a bad spot to end up. It's an old air base that was built in the 1980s. This means that our housing should be pretty decent. The base has been established for a while, so the chances of occupying a hard building, i.e. not a tent, are pretty good. The Air Force is based here, and the Air Force treats its servicemen about 1,000 times better than the Army does. They wouldn't be stationed anywhere without access to showers and, at the very least, housing trailers. We unload our gear into our temporary homes. They call it Tent City, and is similar to how we stayed in Kuwait, a bunch of tents dressed as if standing in formation. It's almost 2300 hours, 11 p.m., and we park the vehicles and unload our personal gear. Christmas is just around the corner, and standing in my tent when the clock strikes 000. Merry Christmas, I say, in the driest voice possible. Imagine if Christmas was a doctor's appointment. That's how much we feel like celebrating. After a couple of hours of unloading and a short briefing by the commander, we bunk down. A dozen or so fold out. Army cots are squished into the tent on concrete floors. On the outside, rocks cover the ground. The rocks cover the dirt, because the dirt turns to mud when it rains, and in Iraq, during winter, it rains a lot. When we wake up in the morning, we rally between the 4 tents the EQ platoon occupies. LT Zeltwinger, platoon leader, stands in the middle. Great job on the convoy, he says. You guys are released for the day. Go contact your families. Tell them you love them. He gives us information about where the phone centers are, the internet cafes, the chow hall, and the shower trailers, and gives us our mailing address so our families can send packages. Oh, he says, and Merry Christmas. I think of Heather and my parents back home, 8 hours behind. It's about midnight. I can't call them yet, this afternoon maybe. For the last 3 days, we've been convoying. We haven't been able to call or email, just like when we left for Kuwait. I didn't discuss specifics when I talked to them. I know I'm safe, but I think of Heather and my parents and how hard it must be for them not to have the peace of mind. For the last few days, they've been worrying, knowing that I'm driving into a war zone. I think of past wars, soldiers who didn't have phone access, soldiers who didn't even know something like the internet could even exist. I can't imagine how their families got by. Back home, they'd wait weeks, months maybe, before they received word, and sometimes the word was a notification of death. But luckily, I'll be able to call and email today. Luckily, I'll be able to tell them I'm okay. An alarm, a slow, loud alarm, like a town fire alarm. Back home, it echoes across the huge airbase. Everyone in my tent stops and looks at one another. What the hell is that? Asked Sergeant Tim Folden. Staff Sergeant Lee says, I think that's the mortar alarm. A mortar is a flying bomb. It's manually shot into the air from a tube. I didn't hear anything explode, I say, but this camp is huge. It could have hit miles away or not even landed on post. It could have been a near miss, or maybe it's a drill. We throw our body armor and Kevlar helmets. We don't need our weapons to fight or anything, but in the military you never ever leave a weapon unattended, so we grab them too and run out of the tent. As a nearby mortar bunker that we duck into is a 4-foot-high tunnel of concrete shaped like a box. The opening of the tunnels are protected by stacks of sandbags. I think we're supposed to wait 20 minutes, says Fulton. So we wait, sitting on rocks under a box of concrete, all 12 soldiers from my tent wearing body armor and clutching M16s, waiting to hear something explode. We, G.I. Schmo, realize our war has begun.